The most beautiful day of our lives. Jungkook, 22 May, year 22. Someone shook my shoulder to wake me up. When I opened my eyes, the car window was filled entirely with the seascape. The sea breeze felt chilly, probably because I was only half awake. I wrapped myself with both arms and got out of the car. The others, already far out on the beach, where the waves broke against the shore, waved at me. Beyond them was the sea, and above the sea was the sun. The entire scene looked like a still frame. The wind picked up and filled this still frame with raging sand just as I raised my hand to wave back. The gritty dust rose from the ground and swirled about. The others turned around all at once, covering their faces to ward off grainy wind. I did the same, shutting my eyes tightly, bending my head and covering my face with my arm. We stood in this position amidst the sounds of lapping waves and whistling wind for a long time. I tried to open my eyes, but they stung from the sand. "Don't rub them, it'll just make it worse." Upon hearing Hoseok, I slowly blinked. The sea, the sky, and the others kept appearing and disappearing through the tears welling up in my eyes. After I blinked several times, tears streamed down and the stinging subsided. The tears must have flushed the grains of sand out. I heard the others laughing. They were laughing at me standing in the middle of an empty beach, shedding tears. It was unclear who began to run first. It started out as a silly game. I pretended to chase the others who kept making fun of me. Hoseok darted off as if he was fleeing from me. Then the rest joined in, running towards and away from one another and laughing joyfully. At some point, we were all running along the coastal road. I ran behind the others. I was out of breath, sweaty, and had a splitting headache. But I didn't stop because they continued on. We had all met again, sprang Jimin from the hospital, and returned to this same beach. It was all unplanned. All I had done was tag along, but it felt exhilarating. Maybe running around blankly was the only way for me to deal with that fearfully thrilling sensation. I had done the same when we all ditched school and came to this beach the first time. "That's right, we were like this back then too," Namjoon said when we dropped down on the beach to catch our breath. "I think it was just as hot then. When was it?" It was Jimin. "It was June 12th. My good memory took everyone by surprise. I remembered it exactly because the photo we had taken on this beach was marked with the date. I sometimes took it out and stared at it. I didn't tell anyone, but I felt on that long ago day that I had finally found a real family, real brothers. Guys," I began to express my gratitude but found myself at a loss for words. "What?" The others rushed me one by one and then flung themselves at me. We rolled around on the beach, tangled up together, playing like children. "Why are you here alone?" I sank down next to Taeyong, who was sitting in one corner of the sandy beach away from the others. He looked at me briefly and asked a question instead. "Was that there the last time we came here?" He was talking about the observatory. "If it was, we would have climbed it, but I don't remember it." He nodded in agreement. He kept staring at the observatory. "Let's go." Someone tapped my shoulder. It was Seokjin, his face unrecognizable as he was standing against the light. It might have been because I was looking up at him from a sitting position, but he looked so tall. I stood up, dusting off the sand. My feet sank deep into the burning sand. I sneaked into Seokjin's shadow and walked on, kicking sand with the tips of my sneakers. The sand I kicked up splattered onto Seokjin's pants, but he didn't look back. Taeyong, 22 May, year 22. I had seen this all before. In a dream that felt too vivid and real, I saw this sea, the seven of us, and the towering observatory. I stood on the observatory at the end of the dream. Everyone looked up at me. They were far away, so their faces were hard to see. Still, I smiled at them, as if I was bidding them farewell. And then I jumped. Seokjin? Hearing Jungkook, I turned my head to see Seokjin climbing the observatory. At the very top, he turned his body towards us. He seemed to be trying to photograph us. The others waved at him, but I couldn't. It was like the last scene in my dream. The only difference was that Seokjin was up there instead of me. At that moment, it felt as if the ground sank under my feet and my body floated in the air. I shut my eyes tightly, fearing my body might plummet to the ground. I didn't clench my fist, but the wound on my palm began to hurt. The wound seemed deep but healed more quickly than I expected. It left a red scar. Sometimes it hurt intensely, like I was being punished for all my wrongdoings. It hurt now. Namjoon, 22 May, year 22. He's only a year younger than I am. No, I didn't say so. I'm older, I know, but he's not a kid anymore. It's time he started taking care of himself. I got it. No, I'm not mad. Sorry. I looked down at the ground after I hung up on the phone. We were on our way to our lodging after spending the day at the beach. A lukewarm breeze was blowing our way. It felt like my heart was clogged and would burst at any minute. Ants were marching in file on the ground covered with sand and dirt. It wasn't that I didn't love my parents. It wasn't that I didn't worry about my brother. I would turn a deaf ear to them if I could, but I knew I'd never be able to. I knew that all too well. Then, what was the use of struggling, losing my temper, feeling distressed and trying to break free? Far off, someone was standing still like me with his back turned. It was Jungkook. Jungkook once told me, "I want to be just like you when I grow up." I couldn't bring myself to confess that I was far from an adult, let alone an exemplary one. It seemed too brutal to crush his hope then. I couldn't tell someone so young, someone who hadn't been given the trust, support, and affection he deserved, that you don't just become an adult by getting older and taller. I wish Jungkook's future would be kinder to him than mine was. But I couldn't promise that I'd be of any help to him along the way.